going to go after the landlords, the big bad landlords that are doing all these awful things. And again, if they are doing awful things, we want them to be penalized and we want them to be taken care of through the law. But that's not what this bill does. What this bill does is very, very simple. Somebody complains to the landlord fixes it. Now the landlord is open to litigation. It could be open to litigation because he or she does not renew the lease. It could be open to litigation because they raise their rent. And this is all to bully landlords into not raising rents and just to shut up and sit down and say that they have an asset that they can't protect. And this is a backdoor way for the legislature to put more pressure on the landlords to not raise rents, to not move this bad tenant along if they are bad actors, because we make bad policies in the General Assembly that we're trying to mask. And so ultimately, who pays for this are all the people that we represent that are of modest means, which is why it only got 62 votes in the House. It isn't because they're strange on progressive policies, it's because they know the people that we all represent are going to end up paying the bill. This is an awful bill for people that are of limited means because they will ultimately pay the price. Vote no, terrible bill.
These individuals are looking for quality, safe, and affordable housing and should not be barred from seeking remedies without fear of retaliation.
But what we've seen in Illinois just recently is a significant decrease in the number of landlords in the state. And we've seen an increase in the number of average units owned by landlords in the state. And the reason why that is, Senator, is because policies like this force small landlords to sell their properties, and only the really, really big landlords who aren't connected to the community, who aren't connected to their tenants, who are looking for that profit motive, maybe not some of the good-hearted motives a lot of our smaller landlords have, own more and more units. They drive up the cost of ownership. The connection between landlords and their tenants is disconnected, and you create the problem that you think you're trying to resolve. I assure you, the small town landlords in the 55th State Senate District do a much better job for their tenants than the big national firms. I assure you, the small town landlords in your district do a much better job for their tenants. The service is better, the rent is cheaper, and the relationship is stronger because that relationship has been there for years. Bills like this break those relationships. Bills like this hurt tenants.
Constituents have come to my office to say that they've been living like this under these conditions, flushing the toilet with water for months on end until they're just desperate. And despite the fact that they're fearing retaliation, they do go to the city. They let the city know. The city does come in and the city does tell them that they have to fix this issue. And immediately they are then either evicted or their lease is not renewed. That's what we're seeing the most of, is that leases are not being renewed.